All right, guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you something I did with a recent student of mine that really helped him get through the ball better, hit the ball more solid, gain a lot of distance, just really overall improve his swing. There's one key drill I'm going to show you that I did with him, sort of a sequence of practice I'm going to show you as well, and a couple of key feels that you need to do through the ball. 3 things in particular that are really going to help you. Let's dive in. All right, so a student came into me recently and had watched one of the videos that we did earlier in the year about producing more power, right? And the drill that you maybe have seen in that video about creating speed past the ball with no backswing. And in that video, we talked about a sequence of drills where I would teach the student how to gain speed through the ball instead of early in the downswing. So a gentleman came in, he'd been practicing that, was getting good results, but wanted to really take it to the next level. And I want to show you what I showed him. We helped him gain about 1.5 clubs distance with his 8-iron compared to normal, made the overall swing better, hit it much more solid. Now, what the student was doing that came to see me that a lot of players do that was costing him distance were these moves with the lower body through impact. He would look something similar to like this. And what this is the hips being low, the legs being bent, and the hips being back. Okay, so through the ball, if I wanted to produce no power, poor contact, inconsistent, I'd have the legs the most bent, I'd have the hips the lowest, and I'd have the hips the most back. Legs bent, hips low and back, bad. What we want to do to produce power right through the ball, which I talked to this gentleman, which I'm going to show you, are the opposite of all that. I want to have the legs straightening, and I want to have the hips pushing up and forward. Good is the legs straightening and the hips pushing up and forward. Bad is the legs being bent, the hips back and low. Okay, this not powerful. This, powerful. And so as you were doing, maybe you watched that video earlier in the year as well, as you're creating speed through the ball, you want to create a lot of that with your lower body. The players that hit it the farthest, the easiest, have the best lower body motion. So those are the things we want to learn. I'm going to show you the main drill that we did to accomplish that, which we call the broom drill. Okay, so I want you to grab an 8-iron. This is what I did with the student of mine. I said, let's take our normal setup position, just a normal 8-iron setup. But now let's take the club head and let's put it on the ground about 2 feet behind the ball and angled slightly in, about a 45-degree angle. So you can kind of see from both sides how the club is on the ground. Now, similar to a broom, right? If I had a broom from here, I want you to drag the handle of the club and force the club head against the turf into about an arm parallel position in the follow through. It's sort of like I'm doing a brooming motion, right? I'm sort of sweeping the mat here with these feels, but I'm just exaggerating the pressure that I'm putting on the club head on the ground. Now, how do I get my club head from back here behind the ball on the ground into a position where it's parallel to the ground? I don't do it with just my arms and no body, right? It doesn't look like this. In fact, I get it there a lot via my lower body motion. What am I doing? If I start here with the club behind, my knees are bent, I'm going to do what? I'm going to straighten my legs. I'm going to push my belt buckle on my hip up and forward. Straighten my legs. Push my belt buckle up and forward. Now notice as I'm doing that, where are my hips? Are they pointed at the golf ball as I'm doing that? Nuh-uh. Right there, fully turned towards the target. I have a full 90-degree rotation. You'll notice as I do that, my belt buckle is actually the closest thing to show me and Grant weight. Belt buckle is the closest thing to the target. I'm fully pushed up and forward. So how we did this is I want you to make 2 or 3 practice swings where you take the club, put it on the ground, feel those things. Literally look at me and the Grants, how the belt buckle is raising. Look how much the head and the belt buckle are raising. Legs straighten, pushing my hips up and forward. Now he got a little nervous, and some people do say, Eric, if I'm straightening my legs, aren't I just gonna like stand up too much through the ball? And the answer is no, because we're gonna offset that or negate that by having our shoulder work down. So if you take kind of an open palm here before we get back to the drill, make a little half backswing. As you work through the ball, the legs should be straightening. The hips should be pushing where? Up and forward, but the shoulder stays down. Shoulder stays down. It's like me and the Grant, you can see, does the head stay down all the way into the follow through? No, right? The head's got to work up eventually, but through impact, that stays pretty level to the ground, even though I'm raising my hips because I've got the right shoulder down. I've got the right shoulder down. So how I'd like you to implement this is put the club down behind the golf ball like this, sweep that forward. Now as I'm sweeping that forward, feeling those pieces, legs straightening, hips pushed up and forward. The hips are fully facing the target. Notice how much higher the butt of the club. Let's draw something on the butt of the club with my hands, where they are now and where they finish. So they're way up high. I'm not going like this, dragging it, right, with my butt of the club real low like this. I'm going up, up. If I'm going up, how am I going to still hit the ball? Because my shoulder stays down. Because my shoulder stays down. Okay, so I just did like 20 broom drills, but I would say do like 2 or 3 of those to get a feel. And you could hit right away with that feel. What we did with the student, what I would do for you, is take that feel, get the club about parallel to the ground from here, and now with a little bit of back swing momentum, give yourself a little bit of momentum, I want you to feel like you straighten the legs, push the hips up and forward. So get the club parallel to the ground, knees are bent here from this position, little bit of a backswing, straighten the legs, push the hips forward. That should feel powerful. Knees bent, club parallel to the ground, a little bit of momentum, straighten the legs, push the hips forward. I'm still hitting the mat because the shoulder's down. Knees bent, club parallel, straighten the legs, push the hips up and forward. And I would start this with something like an 8, or a 9 iron to actually start to hit balls with. So normal setup, do a couple brooms, club parallel to the ground, both of the knees are bent. Feel that same thing through the hip. Legs are straightening, hips are pushed up and forward. And you're gonna feel a lot more power. Now look at my finish position, right? See my belt buckle's fully pushed forward and up. My legs are extending. You can see in the Grant version, as he's doing that, by squeezing the glutes through impact. Those are all pieces we want for power. Now, if I do a couple of those drills, I'm gonna transfer the same feels into my normal swing. I'm gonna straighten the leg. Look how straight. Now, is my right leg all the way straight when I get? No, but straightening, the belt's raising, the hips are pushing up and forward, and the shoulder stays down. So I would do a couple of the broom drills to get a feel. Feel what that feels like. Try a couple of those from about parallel to the ground. Straighten the legs, push the hip up and forward, and then try that same feel with your normal swing. Let's do the same feel, straighten the legs, push the hips up and forward. And all of those are very solid. So as I was working with this player, right, we didn't go from no power to the most powerful golfer in the world, but we made strides, made improvements. And what you should feel when you're doing this is the ball pop off the face better. You should get better compression and increase of distance. But this is something you're going to have to spend some time practicing when you're warming up. Get in there and do a couple of those little drills. Head stays back, hips push forward, shoulders down, straighten legs, push the hips forward. Let's do one more. Yeah, that would be the most powerful way that you could swing the club. Straighten the legs, push the hips up and forward. You hear me say that. Don't worry about the standing up part because you're going to keep your shoulder down when you work through. Gain those feels via the broom drill. And don't like, you could do that forever when you go practice and play. So this really helped the student that I work with. This has really helped a lot of students that I've worked with. If you have any questions at always, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I answer all those in there. Consider subscribing, hit that like button, really helps us out, share us with a friend, and I appreciate you watching.